Hello, it's Flutter birthday. Birthday
Yes.
stream, I guess.
Happy birthday, Dash and Dashlet.
Have his flat hat. I'll have flat hat.
Will this one fit here? Not quite.
Not quite. Here we go. Another week. Another Humpday Q.
Yes, quite the week. Quite the week.
Indeed.
Lots going on.
So we're going to dive straight into it. And as usual, we're going to just say, get your questions in chat with the queue in front, and we'll get to them.
Yes.
We'll do some live coding. We'll have a good stream.
No queue. It doesn't exist.
Exactly. Let's get to it. All right, Scott, it's all yours.
Be nice, be respectful, be constructive. Come on, you know the drill. This isn't Reddit. Don't post anything that's adult, rude, offensive, or otherwise against common sense. Don't promote or advertise yourself. We all know you're looking for a contract, need a job, maybe need a girlfriend. Don't spam the same question over and over again. Every single time you ask the question, we put it at the bottom of the list. And if we realize that it was already in the list, we put it at the bottom and get rid of the one that would have been next. Harassment of any kind is not tolerated. Look, short version, we share ban lists with everybody else under the sun. Get stupid here, all your logins disappear. And have a good time. Come on, this is supposed to be fun.
Indeed, definitely have a good time. And
I've got one answer real quick though.
How you got 11? Yeah.
Breathing. I credit breathing actually, followed by drinking and eating.
Yeah. That happens. Yes. Things are required. So let's do some brief introductions and then we'll crack to it. My name's Simon Lightfoot, Flutter Community Leader, CTO at Dev Angels London, and you can follow me on Twitter at Dev Angels London. Scott.
My name is Scott Stahl. I am also community leader. I'm the one people run to screaming when things go wrong in the Flutter community Slack. I'm also organizer GDG Cleveland and work as a developer under the name Good Dog Apps.
And you can follow you on Twitter at Scott's.
Yes, on the
yeah.
on the thing that's down there underneath of us. Yes.
Is it X now? We should start saying X, right?
All right. And then, you know what? I've been avoiding it for weeks, and I was really hoping people would move to something else. But
right. And then who's next? Hey, Randall.
Oh, that's probably me. Hi, I'm Randall Schwartz. I am a Dart and Flutter Google developer expert since the very beginning of the program 5 years ago. And I'm also very active on all of the socials. So the Discord, the Slacks, the Stack Overflows, the Reddits. I also participate in GDGs around the world, but our local GDG here in Portland, Oregon has just revived itself. And there's a Dev Fest even today. I will leave from here and go nearly directly there. So I'm going to be excited to be hanging out with local Portland people finally again, face to face, after all the COVID nonsense that we had for a while. So good to be doing that. For this show, I'm also the question magician, which means I am the one watching in the live chat for you to put Q: in front of your question. I will flag those so that our panel can answer those. If you don't have a Q in front, it might just be chatter amongst yourselves, which you do from time to time. So be sure to put the Q in front of it. Then I know for sure that it's something for us.
Yeah, a lot of times people are answering each other's questions in the chat. So if we don't see the queue, we're assuming you're getting an answer from other people in the chat.
Yeah.
Who else do we have? Danielle, welcome.
You having me, of course. Hi. Yeah. So hi everybody. I'm Danielle Cox. I'm the tech lead for Flutter from a startup company called Ardley, and then I'm also one of the organizers of the Flutteristas. And Flutteristas are a organization of female and non-binary Flutter enthusiasts. So if you meet that category, hit me up and I'll get you in there. So anyway, that's me. Congrats for going to an actual real place. That's awesome, Randall.
It'll be fun.
It's DevFest season. I was just in Michigan, Detroit's DevFest last weekend.
And I am presenting at a DevFest in Estonia on Friday.
Ooh,
so I'm doing a
We
remote.
have enough guests to introduce before we start chatting away.
Oh yeah, okay, sorry.
John, welcome to the stage. We didn't miss you out, don't worry.
I wanted to hear where Randall's going in the final week here before he's moved for a while.
Yeah.
So if I could finish, can I finish? Oh, no, wait, John, introduce yourself.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So, so John Weezy, my role here is I manage the Flutter community medium and have been hanging out, answering questions in many places. These days, it seems to be mainly Discord with Randall and some others. And my day job is unfortunately not Flutter. It's adding AI features to small products from a small company.
You hang out with
just a tiny little one.
Small one.
You hang out with Tom Smothers or Dick Smothers? I'm not quite sure what you're saying there. I hang out with Smothers. I don't know which one of the two, but yeah. So let me finish what I started just a second ago. Yes, I'm going to be live Friday in Estonia via remote, obviously, because I'm not going to physically go to Estonia on Friday. And also coming up next Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday is the first virtual Dev Fest for the GDC online community. There's a Discord now for Google products, and it's sponsored by Google. And we're having a big 3-day celebration there, and I'm giving a presentation there as well on Monday.
Not GDC or GDSC?
I'm hearing a lot of noise.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
A lot of noise.
Randall,
I know it's not me because I muted myself.
Randall, is it you said GDC or do you mean GDSC? I'm confused.
No, it's GDC. It's the Google Developers Community, which is a virtual community. Yeah, that's the name. They were originally called GDO, and I don't know why they changed it from Google Developers Online to just Google Developer Community, but now it's the GDC Discord. So
yeah, I think we need to work on awareness for that because I'm a GDG organizer and I didn't know about it.
Yeah, there's channels specifically for GDG organizers, channels specifically for GDSC, channels for each of the product groups. Like there's a Flutter channel there that I've now been posting and answering questions on. So yeah, I'll see if I can find a link to it. I know there's got to be a link somewhere that can get us onto there. So then we can post it during the show. I'll do that after I go behind the scenes here in a second. So yeah.
Is there a lot of noise at the moment? Is that my end?
It's not
Let's
noisy.
see if it's my fan again. My computer is about to rotate, if anyone knows that term from.
Yeah, the sound's going now. So, now it's back.
It's back.
Yep, somebody there.
I'm wondering. Hang on. Let's briefly talk about this. I just want to mention this briefly, and that is for those that don't know, the Flame Game Jam is happening this week. This weekend, Friday to Sunday. So yeah, if you haven't heard about this, sign up, flame-engine.org. Go check it out. And it'd be really cool if you fancy like building a game over a weekend. And even if you don't know anything, you can always join a team. There's lots of people looking for different people for skills like design and all sorts. So
yeah, and they got a lot of cool prizes they're giving out.
Definitely. Yeah. Check that out. Okay. Let me just try muting. Are you hearing it at the moment?
Yes, a little bit. I'm hearing it a little bit. It went away. It's gone.
Okay, so it's my end, but there's not much I can do about it.
All right, yeah, we need you here. So.
I'll see what I can do.
Should we get us here and everybody
That might
on? Should we get everybody in the audience and us to all sing for Scott real quick?
Oh God, no.
So for those that don't know, it's Scott.
What happened?
Whoa.
Whoa.
Scott took him out.
What happened? What happened?
I tried to put him back, but then he took himself back out.
Yep.
Not me this time.
Right. Anyway, yes. So yeah, happy birthday, Scott.
Happy birthday, Scott.
Hey, we can't sing the song or we get a copyright strike.
Just as well,
Pretty
really. Let's
much,
be honest.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you
right.
know, our YouTube feed will be taken down for a copyright violation.
No. It'll be for like rights against humanity.
In the chat, I just posted the Discord URL that should take you to the GDC Discord. If you're not already remembered, it'll sign you up. But that's my event as well there. So go check that out.
Okay. I can't click on it without putting it up on the stage. So that's something you all might not know. We can't copy and paste your messages because as soon as we touch them with the mouse, it puts them up on the screen.
Okay, so there you go. All the happy birthdays are coming in.
That's right.
Right.
Thank you.
And I somehow bet Matthew can sing, so I know I can't. So
I can sing, but again, I don't want a copyright strike on the channel. That would be bad.
Yeah.
All right, so get your questions in the chat. Well, we're also going to see if we can do some live coding today as well.
Yes.
Shall we?
And I'm going to go.
Hopefully more soon than 3 hours into the
I've got something that we can chat about. In fact, it's something that Danielle found earlier on in the week. Do you want to talk about that, Danielle? Shall I share it on the screen?
I don't have it on mine. If you want to pull it up on yours.
Yeah. Give me 1 second.
Yeah, we can do that real quick. Yeah. So, all right. So a little bit of background here. I'm my favorite game from college is Rogue. It's built way before there's object-oriented anything. And so I've been working on pretty much a straight port of it right now. And I would like to get to the point where later on I'd like to bring it into a more modern thing. But so part of that is I'm using, instead of, since a lot of these things are not made to interact properly from a object-oriented standpoint, I'm doing a lot of class extensions on my my presenter for my game logic. Basically the class that does the game logic. And so part of what you have to do is it's sort of like listeners. You have to start up things that run every turn, some things that run after so many turns, whatever, stuff like that. And what I was realizing was they were never getting removed. And the reason why they were never getting removed is kind of shown in this gist right here that Simon helped me come up with, which is basically showing that inside a method, inside of a extension method, is treated like the type of tear off that is never equal to anything. It's brand new every time, and so it's never equal to itself. And this was kind of fun to figure out. And there's an interesting conversation with it.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of interesting, right? So what we're seeing here is that, when you compare two classes together, the class, this is the class type, which is somewhere in here. Here it is, here, right? So this is the result of calling. This is the constructor reference. Sorry, this is not. This is a. No, it's not. This is just.
It's not. No, fine. Yeah.
This is just a method. Sorry, this is a standard method in a class. And its identity is a match, right? It's a qualitative match. This is what we expect, right? It's you run most of the time, and this is kind of classical, is that a method is run on a class, right? It's normally its first hidden parameter is normally like in the inner workings of its first parameter is kind of like it's self, right? It's the notion of this. So the notion of a method being a single instance of a method for the entire lifetime of your app makes sense. So you get this kind of notion that every reference to that method would be the same, right? And it would be the same for the instance of the object. Sorry, to be clear.
Yeah, for the instance, yeah.
And then the same goes for a static, like a static method reference it would be, it's static, it's global, it's the same throughout. This makes sense. But since extension methods are considered static in nature, like they're on top, they're added to they're either, sorry, they're not static, what I'm talking about. They're considered extension methods, right? They're part of the class. You expect them to behave the same, but it's not. Whenever you make a reference, who's playing music? Someone's playing music.
I think it's coming from, I don't know. Is it coming from me? I don't have any.
I don't know.
Yes, it was.
Yep, it's coming from John.
Yes. Thanks. I'll let you figure that one out. Right. So anyway, so extension methods, as you can see here, each reference of that extension method, each call to it would come up with a different identity match, which is not what you expect. It's considering the others are identical, right? Methods. Now you expect this behavior on a lambda because a lambda is created essentially in each execution of the code. It's creating a new instance of that function, of that method. So we could do this. Here's another. Apparently this. I'm just going to try this right now because we're here. So if I went in extension here, and then we now compare this variable, we obviously would expect this to be the same instance now because we've essentially captured the scope of the variable there, right? So now these are going to be the same. It's going to be true, and they'll be the same. So this works, but you need somewhere to actually store this. This is not very intuitive, right? I think personally, from my experience of lots of other languages. But yeah,
and I can actually tell how I worked around it. Once again, I've got a. By the way, kind of the consensus on the Twitter thread that we had about this was don't do it. Yeah, don't do this. So since my special use case, I really wanted to make this behavior happen. What I did is, since it was in its own file, is I created private global methods that took in the class as an argument, and then just put getters in the extension class. So they got the same, so they were getting a value from a global, so it was always correct. And so that visually made it work, but I don't love it.
I think you think of something as one instance, right? You build a class object as one instance. You think of the methods as belonging to that class, and you expect one instance of those as well, that inherently that instance of the method to be linked to the instance of the class.
I would have always thought
or you treat them as always being the same. Not each time you reference that method, it's a different instance of the method. And I'm just like, that just doesn't make sense to me. And so I think it's very
actually, what if it's a managing the footprint kind of thing? Because Flutter is aimed at older, smaller devices.
No,
and they might not have the memory, to have all those.
It's not they're not. Well, I'm gonna have to defer away from this for now. But normally methods are not instantiated in that way. Obviously, there's an object reference that's been instantiated, but it's just a reference. The actual code for the method is pre-compiled, right? So it never changes, right? So it's just interesting that you, instead of referring to a single, so the same as a const, when you declare something as const, it's made a single instance that is made at compile time and included in your app. You expect the same of a method.
So this is not a matter of destruction and garbage collection for efficiency of memory usage.
No, I can't see. It's just interesting. I think there's although it's just one of those things that is not other languages don't do it the same. And I think it's one that could catch people out, especially with add or remove listener and listenable being a very common pattern. So it certainly was a surprise to me. And I'm looking at it, scratching my head when me and Danielle were talking about this. So I think there's definitely room for a lint check. And that lint check should be definitely made mandatory or whatever, so that it's on the default lints for Flutter, because I can totally see that being mishandled by mistake. In fact, I'm probably definite right now that there's a ton of apps out there that are doing this and leaving listeners and wondering why I've removed my listener, but it's still there.
Craig is yelling at us in the chat to look at the chat.
Okay. Randall, tell him to read the chat. Okay. Well, what? Here, Craig, come on the show.
He says he thinks tear-offs are wrapped in a super secret extra lambda when invoked.
Yeah. No, I think that's right, and I can understand that because you need to from a Dart memory standpoint, it needs to refer to that object so that it can manage it correctly in the instantiation and cleanup of that possible tear off, so it knows that class is still referenced. But the thing here is that it can still be identified as being the equality can still match, right? So I think there's I don't know. I think there's a difference between. This is the other thing, right? A lot of people don't think about this. There's a difference between the language when it's compiled and the language when you write it as source code, right? There'll be lots of accountancy and management that happens under the hood to manage the interaction between the objects and everything else, right? As we said, like hidden this parameters and other things like that are sent through that you don't write in your source code. You're not that explicit in your source code. So I can see this being something that is in the Dart language, in a sense, it's in the Dart runtime environment, and it is there to manage it in accountancy. But then, from a language perspective, we expect a certain behavior. So, but anyway, all right. So we see if we've got any questions, or does anyone have any comments about what we're just talking about? Because
there are a lot of comments, but you don't want them on screen.
I saw those. Yeah.
I think we do have a few questions.
Check DMs in FSG.
Okay.
Anyway, shall we get on with it then? And I'm wondering, when should we cut questions since we're looking at code today? Maybe 15 minutes?
No, we'll give them, yeah, something like that. I don't know. But we're going to go for about an hour and a half, maybe 2 at max.
Okay. So, what is great? I put my camera in the way of my screen. What's the best way to connect the Flutter app to a vehicle OBD system and read data? It's not really a Flutter thing. That's going to be an IoT thing, which is more Dart, I believe. But OBD, let's define that to make sure.
I'm assuming they mean onboard device or onboard debug or whatever it stands for.
What?
Okay, onboard device system. Yeah, no, that's IoT, which is going to be a Dart thing.
Which was the best way to connect a Flutter app to a vehicle OBD system and read data?
Well, first you have to have a device that connects to it.
Yeah. So I think I would suggest you go check out my I'll put a link in the chat. I did a ebook reader e-ink package. Get the words out. Sorry. And that communicates directly with the e-ink device hardware, and that might put you in the right direction. But normally, from a system perspective, you normally just talk to the devices as if they're files on the system. From a Linux perspective, actually, the same works in Windows. Windows works slightly differently. It has a global namespace, but in essence, it's a similar principle. You use create file API to open up a handle to the device driver.
The thing is, it's going to be.
We need for this. You know who we need for this is the guys from the At Company.
Yeah, they've been doing a lot of that stuff.
Yeah, they were originally doing one project and then ended up moving completely away from it because they started doing pure Dart with Internet of Things on, I have to be very vague, but it's like car sensors for various situations where people need to log all the different things going on with a car.
I'll put the link in there for you, Hashan. But I am going to say how would you connect? Forget about Flutter for a second. It's like, how would you connect and read from a physical device on the OBD? So there are, again, I don't know what particular connection this would expect or anything else. I know you can get the CAN bus connectors with Bluetooth. So then you can just plug one of those in. It'll have a driver. It'll have probably an SDK or something else. And you essentially make an app to communicate with that, and that does the hardware communication with the actual device. But those things are all possible. I mean, there's plenty of apps out there that do that. Not an issue there. So I think find more about the platform that you're trying to deal with.
Yeah, Joanne also had a comment on it saying that there's a lot of them will do it via Bluetooth.
Yeah. So yeah.
All right. And I had meant to touch on something before we got into questions, but today, for my birthday, JetBrains released their AI to the public. So if you've been in any Slacks that I'm in, I've been spamming the crap out of them with the link. And the link is now in the chat. So you can at least see the recorded version, if not the live. It's half an hour. So it's not really that bad. And it's a lot of basic stuff that we all do. And it's just showing you how their AI can help do it. Anything from documentation to explaining what a piece of code does in case you have to follow someone else who doesn't write any comments, Simon. But yeah, it's really good. And it is especially good for they really paid attention to the situation where you have to either look at someone else's code that you've never seen or look at your own code that you wrote 6 months ago and forgot. And you just ask it, what does this do? And it looks through the whole project and tells you everything that it's doing, which is really cool. That it writes docs for you.
Look at your code from 6 months ago and not remember what you did. I have to admit, I resemble that remark.
I think it was Matt Carroll who said that one time, and I said 6 months. I can't remember what I wrote 6 hours ago.
Sometimes it feels that way.
Yeah.
So
all right. Where are we at here? Go ahead, Simon.
Yeah. I was saying I saw Randall put a little message up there for the OBDC. Yeah, a lot of devices don't want to you wouldn't want your car connected to an always on Bluetooth things that allow people to change settings in your car or monitor your car's information, right? So normally what the idea is that you normally plug in like a CAN bus connector or a little device that allows for a Bluetooth connection whilst it's plugged in, and then you would then unplug that once you don't need it anymore, right? But I think there's a whole thing right now about things like making speedometers and heads-up displays and things, which a lot of people that are doing that, they do this. They plug the CAN bus connector into under the dash, and it has a Bluetooth signal, and then your phone can detect that. But again, would you really want to leave that plugged in on your car? I'm not sure I would.
All the time.
No matter what limitations
they
say there are.
Thinking for like diagnostics or something, though.
That's what it's there for, right?
Yeah.
But you can monitor like the speedo, for example, and of course that's great for your heads-up display thing, but not so good for potential hackability of your vehicle that you're literally going at 50 miles an hour down the motorway. And no, thank you. All right, what's next?
What's next? Let's just see here. Can Flutter overtake Qt in the embedded systems domain, and what tools are available as of now to get into it?
Yes. So I think it depends on what level of embedded is the next thing. So actually, it's kind of interesting we talk about this because Dart started off as for embedded. There was actually I think Dart Lang has an archive repo, I think, for hang on. I'm trying to remember what it's called now. There was an embed. Do you know what? Who? I can't remember the name of the package. It's going to really bug me now. I'm going to have to go find it. There were anyway. So Dartium. When I show this people are like, "What? This was a thing?" And I'm like, "Yes, I think." It was right at the very beginning. Is it Dart? I swear it's Dartium.
The browser, right? Oh, no, it's Chromium.
Dartium was Dart embedded in Chrome, so you could do Dart development for web.
It was at that time there was an embedded version of Dart. It doesn't matter.
Yeah,
Anyway,
I remember that too, about in that era. Yeah, early days.
Anyway, I forget now. It was a long time ago. Anyway, so the point here, though, I was trying to make, is that it started off that way. That's interesting. There is, I think, there is a demand now for Dart to sort of lighter weight systems, like having a micro Dart or something like that, which could compete with MicroPython on that sort of scale. The problem here is that there's still a considerable requirement for Dart from the platform, specifically Flutter, right? So Flutter's been a graphical system, and the way it's been built, it's not built in mind for very small devices. So you're not going to go get your you can put this out. It's going to work on a Raspberry Pi. It's going to work on an ARM. It's going to work on on the higher end RISC-V in chips at the moment. We'll work on those, and it's that kind of level of you're probably still going to want like a reasonable amount of memory, a reasonable amount of processing power, and you're going to need you can do software rendering, but then that takes away from the CPU. You're probably going to want to have a decent enough processor with GPU in it. So this is kind of where the Flutter Pi project and others are going, where they work directly with the GPU and they don't actually go with the Linux windowing subsystem. And this kind of allows you to take full advantage of the embedded domain. And the Flutter, Raspberry Pi platform is a known platform, which also makes it easier to work with. So there's a lot of projects around this. There is actually a Flutter, not Flutter. There's some other embedded graphics libraries. I'm trying to remember what it's called now. That are going to be more, which are going to be better than Flutter for very low power. That's the one. LVGL. We brought this up the stream before. Let me bring this up now. I'll post a link in the chat as well for those that haven't heard of LVGL. Let's bring this up. Yeah. So LVGL, Light and Versatile Graphics Library. I'll put the link in the chat to the repo as well. You can see the kind of thing you can build with it, which is nice. But it's at the C++ level, C level. It's look, 50 kilobytes of RAM, 100 kilobytes of flash, 30 kilobytes of fonts, 200 lines of code, right, to do this thing on the left, right? Which is lovely and all. And you can do all this kind of thing, right? And it makes sense, but it's very much it's meant for more limited devices, right? So this is your here you go, your STM32s, NXP Expressive, running a real-time RTOS. So there's a different requirement there for that type of device, rather than a fully managed operating system. Hopefully that helps answer maybe one of your. Can it overtake? Sorry, to be clear, yes, I think it could, but there's still work to be done to really make it effective. Like for it to be a competitor with LVGL, that's a entirely different thing.
I threw a few links in the private chat if anybody wants to share those. One is the Flutter embedding, and then one is the Dart SDK.
That is a good point. Yeah. Sorry.
You got both those?
Yep. So that's the what John was just talking about. Let's just bring this up on stream here. Is one of these. This is one of the pages which talks about embedding on different platforms and working with these things, and some of the case studies and various other resources. I think this links to where was it down here? It's against Stein.
Yeah.
This is just like installing Flutter, but there's so much there.
That other link is about embedding Dart. It's
there's the other one.
The repo. Yeah.
Did you put that in the chat? Did you?
Yeah, and Scott just shared it. Yeah.
Okay, good. So, the Dart API, embedding Dart API. Yeah, that's really good. So, in fact, do you know what? We actually, it was me and Norbert who first used the Dart embedded API to build, and the Flutter embedder API to build a Flutter simulator for desktop, back in 2018 in with the first version of Flutter when it's beta. There you go.
I was going to say that's what, about 5 years ago.
Yeah, I know, right? It's crazy. I don't even know where the time's gone. I honestly don't.
I
I
don't
agree.
either. The funny thing is a lot of us had been involved in Flutter a year and a half before that.
Yes, yeah, like it was about
Not quite a year and a half, maybe a year and a quarter.
it's about a year before that, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Man,
year and a quarter
how
because
time
it was
flies.
December, wasn't it? So it was the year
Yeah,
plus
about a
3
year.
months. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. What's next?
I've been thinking a lot about Dio lately, and I was wondering which library you prefer for HTTP and Dio. Well, that's an old musical group.
HTTP library. There you go.
Actually,
again,
yeah,
not-
I've just been doing things manually. HTTP library kind of.
You say
thing.
manually. I mean, like at the end of the day, you've got the HTTP. So you got Dart. So this is very clear. Most people get this mixed up. Dart.io has a HTTP stack in it, right?
Yeah.
That is very stream orientated. It's very low level. Then you have the HTTP package, which puts a nicer facade on top of that lower level thing that really is the level that you're kind of looking for most applications. Dio then puts a layer essentially on top of that, which does its own thing on top of that with adapters and interceptors and everything else. But to actually just use HTTP is just fine. Like,
Well,
I've
I mean,
never
when
had a
I say manually, I'm just proving that I'm a real programmer because I use Vim and then I write bit shift left, bit shift right.
What was
See, Scott, I'm old enough. I still call it VI.
yeah,
VI.
right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Back in the day, it was VI.
That was the
no
tool
proof.
back
Yeah.
on the mainframe.
No syntax highlighting back then.
Syntax
we didn't have it.
highlighting. Hell, I remember trying to learn C++ from a book in the 90s.
Yeah.
I was actually. I'm just going to briefly off track here. I watched a video last night about the Atari 2600. I honestly didn't realize how limited those devices were. I thought they had some screen. I know they had like really low res. I thought they had screen RAM. They did not have any screen RAM. They literally, the CPU had to change like 8 bits of data in a bus. Sorry, in the registers, as the scan beam scanned across the screen, so it could output the graphics. Which means they had to, and there was no triggers to know how, so you had to cycle count your instructions as they were being run by the CPU to actually output things on the screen in the right places.
So basically, the RAM, the memory for the CPU was also shared by the graphics. So what you're telling me is that Apple has not progressed in about 35 years.
No, I mean that's fine. It's just the fact that you wouldn't write something to memory and then have that memory be read from by like a chip to actually render the output to the screen. This is like even before then, right? This is just crazy. Right. Next.
So by the way, there's an
And,
Atari 2600 Lego out there now that I absolutely want, but it's a couple $100, so I don't have it. But
And really, sorry, just to wrap that up, Matt's asking if there's concern over Dio. Not that I'm aware of.
No, I think it was because it was talking about Dio being taken over by some Chinese.
Because the maintainer stepped away, right? So.
Yeah.
I mean,
Speaking
I've
of
not got
maintainers.
any.
We can always use maintainers with Flutter Community, GitHub.
Indeed. We need more. Always need more maintainers. So reach out on many ways, Slacks and all sorts. So I know I was going to say, based on that, I mean, it's kind of like one of those things, right? Like you don't. Like there's plenty of great Flutter apps, and there's a great community of Flutter in China. It doesn't really cross the barrier to us because of not just the great firewall of China, but also the language barrier is another thing, right? So it makes it kind of difficult. So
I had a long talk with some of the Chinese on that subject because they flew in for IO19. And one thing that made me feel very inferior is that, first of all, somebody on the team who knows both communities said that China was about 9 months ahead of us in everything they did. And we were constantly playing catch up. Plus, the Chinese, knowing how to code in English, they were able to read all of our articles, but we couldn't read any of theirs in order to find out what kind of great things they were doing. And I imagine this has probably not changed.
like most things, is it like the most popular languages in the world is like Spanish first, then is it Mandarin, or and then it's like essentially Chinese, simplified Chinese, and then you've got English, right? So it's like based on population of people, right? So
And the only reason
during that
English is
point-
that popular is because of commerce and business. Otherwise, we would really be left in the dust.
it also might have been to do with someone's empire back in the day, but that's
Yeah.
here nor there.
Yeah. Well, the Roman Empire. Yeah, sure.
Yeah, sure. We'll do that one. That's sure that we'll
I
stick with that.
am looking
Right.
for
Let's-
another banner that is related to this question.
All right,
Where
come
did the
on.
one
Come
go
on.
about
Let's
Alexis?
Karen. What is this? I didn't even read the
No,
question.
no, come
I'm
on,
stuck at the-
Alexis thing. They need
I'm stuck
Alexis thing.
I'm stuck at the beginning, little after beginner phrase. And can any resources help me improve? In fact,
Yeah.
there's actually
There's
been
a lot of
there's actually a new resource that I'm recommending to people. To bring up the screen.
I'm
right
sorry,
now.
I thought you were.
Yeah, the
moving on to
roadmap.
something
Yeah.
else. That one too.
So this I put the link in the chat. This is roadmap.sh/flutter, and it's basically showing you a journey that you can follow, a learning journey that you can follow, and then this will take you off to articles where you can go read more about that content. So you start talking about like the normal one, state management, and then it'll talk you into the official articles on state management. And so on and so forth, like what is change notify, how it works, where can I read more about that. So yeah, I this is like the newest one, but what's it, Alexander?
And
There's
the
a
one
couple-
before
yeah.
that was Alexander, which is right
And then-
here.
And there's the atomic one.
Do you have a link to
Potomac
that?
put one out.
Yeah. Here, I'll throw it in the private chat so you can share it.
Okay.
Yeah. When Red asked a bunch of us a few months ago about roadmaps and stuff, I threw all three of those in there for him.
Yeah, I'll put that one in the chat as
That
well.
one in the chat right now.
I brought up. I won't bring up Alexander's. We've done that quite a few times, but here's the other one by Atomic. Yeah. So there's lots of other stuff you can read up here. Flutter roadmap. Lots to learn.
I was thinking that was Tomek Polanski.
Yeah, I was thinking as well,
No,
but that's fine.
yeah.
So yeah, hopefully those are resources that can help you progress forward.
So two people trying to drive at the same time.
Aren't backseat drivers.
Yeah.
Indeed.
He's still doing them, even though he's back.
I tried to click on the
Yeah.
tab that shows me where all the questions are, and I missed.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So that was so thanks,
That's what we
Roa.
just did.
Yeah.
Yeah, so all of those should be good. And the funny thing is when you say you're stuck a little bit after the beginner phase. Another thing too is the widget of the week and package of the week.
I mean,
an interesting thing you can do. Sorry, just real quick. You can start the widget of the week playlist in your car. Close your phone up, close up your phone wallet or whatever it is. Set it down in the seat and just let all that play over the Bluetooth speakers on a long drive. And or while you're going around the house or whatnot, just keep listening to it.
Decoding Flutter.
You can learn by osmosis.
Yeah, decoding Flutter is another good one.
Yeah.
The thing I'd say, like I want to understand, Roa, like what is your, what do you say after the beginner phase? Like, what are you seeing as what is your next steps forward? Because you may have read, you know how to create some UI, you know some basics, but I think you don't really know how to build an app until you actually publish an app. And you don't really publish an app until you actually have a product to build. So I would go, if it's for yourself and you're just learning by yourself, you actually haven't got a project to work on with other people, let's say, or for a customer or a client or something, then go figure out what is something you want to build for yourself. Or do you have an app that you use right now that doesn't have all the features that you want? Build your own version, build your own thing, learn by doing, right? Do that.
And all the steps needed. All the steps needed to tie the whole thing together and do the CI/CD and do your testing and then releasing. You will find some of your best learning experiences are when you're yelling at the screen saying, what is this garbage? Why in the world do I have to do this? This seems totally unnecessary and stupid. Okay. That's when you're learning.
No, that's when you're publishing to Apple.
Either now. They're
Yeah.
so complicated. It's just ridiculous.
You know, now that my last contract is wrapped up, I took my Mac Mini and my iPhone and my iPad and I put them in the closet.
It's interesting that you know, I remember at the very beginning it used to be so simple. Now it's to me. Here's the thing: is like because I've used the App Store so many times, I know what button to click on and what to fill out first and what order to do things in, and I forget that as a newbie, when you come along to these things, they're just like crazy. They're just like so massive. What menus do you do? How do you follow things? It is crazy. So yeah, I think I don't have any recommendations other than practice and learn from your mistakes. Right?
Roa did follow up a little bit, and from the comment there about knowing basic stuff and the more advanced stuff is beyond me. Roa, don't. Okay, what it sounds like is you don't know what you don't know. So the best way to help possibly with that is, what's the most advanced thing that you already know? So that would help tell us where you are. But a big thing, especially for me, is when I go to do something and I try to write it, out in Dart, and Simon says, why are you doing that? There's a package for that. I didn't know it existed.
Yep.
And I didn't know, how do I put it? I didn't know to go looking for one because I didn't know that I didn't know which package to use.
There is a point, right? You just don't know what you don't know, and there's not much you can do about that. I think that, but a lot of that, coming back to the point, I think experience comes a long way, Roa. And I think it's just a case of getting on with it. And I know this sounds weird, but like, just do, and then you'll start picking up all those things. Same as phrasing. Like, you only learn what the names, like instantiation. Like, this is a term that you don't really use anywhere other than programming, as far as I can recollect from anywhere. I'm sure it's used somewhere. Oh,
yeah, we saw
yeah.
We saw it.
A work emergency. Bye, everybody.
No worries.
Sorry.
Bye, everybody.
Yeah.
Bye. I guess I'll stick around then.
Yeah. As you said, yeah.